Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.
And we'll call to order this meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission for January 25th, 2021. Before we begin, I'll just highlight that again, due to COVID-19, due to the crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12 and pursuant to executive order 2020-4, this commission is authorized to meet electronically. As we do before every meeting, we'll go ahead and state for the record who we are, where we're located, whether we are alone in the room or with others, and whether or not we can hear the audio. I'll go first. I'm Steve Perkins. I am participating from an office where I work. I am alone in the building, and I'm participating remotely due to the COVID-19 precautions, and I can hear the video. Mike Boisvert, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mike Boisvert. I'm participating remotely because of COVID-19 restrictions. I'm alone in this room and I can hear everyone's audio well.
Thank you, Mike. Let's see, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy Glenn. I'm participating electronically from home due to COVID. I am alone in this room and I can hear the proceedings.
Thank you, Cindy. Gage.
Hi, this is Gage Perry. I'm participating electronically. I'm due to COVID restrictions. I'm alone in this room and I can hear everything just fine.
Fantastic. Eric.
My name is Eric Starr. I'm participating from my home where I'm alone due to COVID-19 and I can hear everyone just fine.
Thank you. Tim.
Yeah, my name is Tim Tenhave. I am alone in this room, but not in my home. I can hear everyone just fine, and I'm participating electronically due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. And finally, Mike Druin.
I'm Mike Druin. I'm participating electronically due to COVID. I'm alone in the room, except for the occasional kid walking in. And yeah.
And you can hear the audio. Mike, would you sit in for as a voting member in place of Pete and Tim in place of Gina?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Public comment. I don't see any. No members of the public are in queue waiting to participate. Public hearings, we have none. Appointments, as noted, the selection committee did move Eric into the vacant full-time position. Thank you, Eric. Which brings us to statutory advisory business. So item number 1, Ron DuPont, applicant, and Streef LLC owner, review for a recommendation to the planning board of the site plan to construct a 2,950 square foot mixed use professional office and 3 studio apartments building. The parcel is located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial Aquifer Conservation and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts. Tax map is 5D-4 lot 099. And if you would go ahead and state who you are and tell us about your project. Excellent. Good evening. My name is Matt Peterson. I'm with Keach Nordstrom Associates, here representing the 406 DW Highway project that we're presenting to the planning board and to you guys currently. This project's probably a little bit different for me and for you guys in the sense that I wasn't with K&A when they permitted this site, but obviously this site was incorporated in the Overlook Estate project, which took this piece that's being constructed right now, and it's the 55 and over that Ron DuPont is building up in here. And as part of that project was to redo East Chamberlain Road. So when they came in here, they pulled that road out there. Obviously, bulldozers here. We redid that slope. You can see in the photos that are now, that's a re-engineered slope around the whole bottom there, new guardrail, new road and stuff like that that went in. So this site didn't have any wetlands on site. It's mainly Hinkley soils in Windsor, as you can see from the soils over there. It's all been disturbed at this point, except for a little part up at the corner here. Prior to this site plan coming forward again as part of the overall project that was here, plus the road. What the applicant is looking to do on this site here is a small 2,950 square foot office building. And then we propose 3 residential studios on the second floor to kind of add a little character up and down Daniel Webster Highway with the residents on the second and the office floor on the first. The parking calculations are what limits it to a low impact office instead of retail. We don't have enough parking spaces to do that. The site itself is relatively flat besides the slope, the engineered slope that's up in here. We're proposing to collect all the stormwater runoff here in a sediment forebay, run it through a small grass line treatment swale into our infiltration basin. Almost 100% of the water will infiltrate in with these soils here. Our HydroCAD study shows that there will be a little bit of overflow that would come out. The infiltration pond is here. We have about 0.95 CFS going in. We're expecting 0.23 to infiltrate into the ground, and we have 0.03 that would go out and then into the roadside swale and into the town system. This is for the 25-year storm. We did the 10 and some of the other storms that I have as well, if you wanted information on that. But a pretty clean design right now. East Chamberlain Road, the drainage here is collected in catch basins up here. This system, there is no catch basins down. The water comes down around onto Daniel Webster Highway into a roadside swale that's here. And then it goes into a closed system that goes across and out the Synergy self-storage facility and around back. That's kind of the drainage that makes its way down through there. So again, this is kind of a site that's already been impacted beforehand. I would assume they probably came to you back at the time when they did this piece up in here, because we're all in the aquifer right here as it was going forward. But we're just looking for any input that you might have on this to move this project forward. We've gotten comments from DPW as far as our design forth with them on final plans. And with that, I'll kind of open it up for questions. Thank you.
Matt, could you go back to the site plan that shows the color up? Thank you. Okay. So one of the things that we regularly look for, you've obviously got some plantings going on here. We'd like to make sure those are all non-invasive local species.
We use the same thing consistent as Overlook Estates too, so that you'll have the same look all the way up the hill and stuff like that. That'll all match. So yes, we did.
What's the plan for de-icing on the parking lot? Snow removal.
Dang it, I forgot to look at that before I came here.
I believe it states no.
We've got our typical.
Or
yeah,
de-icing compounds.
Correct. Yeah, we got our standard Merrimack. I just didn't know where the note was.
I actually thought it was on the front page, but I'd have to go back. It was earlier this weekend when I looked at it.
No salt or chemical de-icers are to be used for winter maintenance, and winter maintenance shall be performed by a Green Snow Pro certified or functional equipment certified contractor. Note number 20.
Is there anything around the dumpster pad to keep anything that could potentially spill out from going off the asphalt or concrete?
I don't have a trap set up at this point on it. No, I didn't think that far. We've got, sheet flow to this point that's here to our sediment forebay, and then the treatment swell out here. So quite a distance for something to get across the parking lot to that. The only problem is if I put a grate or something there, I don't have the grade change to really get it out without putting it into like the drainage system or catch basin out on the road. And I'd rather not do that. I think I'd rather be able to maintain it on my own site in the driveway than collecting that.
Yeah, I was just curious if it would end up leaching into the ground if it went off the. I'm not sure where north is, off the top of
okay. That one I can answer. So on the grading plan, everything high point is here, everything's draining this direction here, and then down to here.
Gotcha.
So everything's making its way the opposite direction, so that no, it would not make its way back onto the grass. And this is curved around this here and all the way around, and this is a raised curving here. So.
Right, and then the building is going to have stormwater collection as well?
Yes, gutters, we had some root gutters right here that we designed to come down and collect it on that. We wanted to make sure we took into consideration it.
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly have quite a pile of sand that you're building on top of. So.
Yeah, it's not ledge. Which is nice. Unlike down at Bowers where I'm just all ledge, this one I'm actually sand.
Yeah, that whole strip up near the Everett Turnpike all the way towards King Cone is just all sand underneath. So.
Matt, when did you say you go before the planning board? February 2nd. So next week, and this was just we it slipped the board, slipped me that we had to come in front of you because there were no wetlands, nothing there. But we're in the aquifer, and I missed it. Anyone else have any additional comments, questions?
No, just a comment. I noticed in the planting section that the fertilizer has 0 in the middle value, so that's good. We're limiting phosphate. So yeah, it's kind of what we want to be seeing.
Again, this is the same owner that's doing Overlook Estate, so it's nice. It's consistent. They know what they're doing in the area. Well, thank you, Matt, for coming to us tonight and talking to us about this proposal. I'll go ahead and get an email sent to the planning board. And if there are no other questions, thank you. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business. First item on the agenda is Public Works Department review of Souhegan River Trail project with respect to anticipated contribution to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Aquatics Resource Management or ARM Fund. And I think Kyle is with us to talk about that.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Perkins. And thank you all for having me on your agenda tonight. I wanted to come and talk to you guys a little bit about our Souhegan River Trail project, which you will hear more about in the future. But we have a intermediate step that we need to accomplish prior to submitting our final wetland application for the project to the Department of Environmental Services. I thought I'd start with for anyone not familiar with the project, by sharing my screen and kind of showing you what the project is all about. So can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yep, great. So the Souhegan River Trail project is it's a project that's really been in the works since 2015. The town was awarded a TAP grant from the Department of Transportation, which stands for Transportation Alternatives Program. And the purpose of the TAP grant is to provide other modes of transportation other than vehicles for residents. And there's particular interest for trails and sidewalks that connect groups of populations to businesses, to schools, etc., that kind of stuff. You may be familiar with the old Safe Routes to School program. That's now incorporated into this TAP program. So this project itself got its start from the Merrimack Town Center Committee, which is a committee of the town council that looked for ways to develop the town center. And one of their outcomes that they developed back in 2009 was a pedestrian trail master plan. And this project came right out of that master plan. And what the project does is up here in the top right corner is Watson Park. And you can see where my little hand is here. That's the existing sidewalk, kind of the curvy sidewalk that goes into Watson Park. And then it comes back onto Daniel Webster Highway. And this kind of shaded area is across from the fire department in Buckley's, where anyone who's driven through there has seen the steel plates that we have on top of the existing sidewalk because it's in such poor shape. So anyways, the project is going to start in Watson Park at the existing kind of loop sidewalk, come into the park down in kind of a meandering path, and then it's going to do a really cool thing. It's going to jump into what is known as the Sluiceway. The Chamberlain Bridge that carries Daniel Webster Highway traffic over the Souhegan River actually has two arches in it. The big arch, of course, carries the river, but there's a smaller secondary arch that used to be used as a sluiceway for the tannery and other industries that were located on the parcel. So the trail is actually going to make use of that historic sluiceway, come underneath Daniel Webster Highway, adjacent to the fire department, which is here. So it'll come under the bridge, stay in the sluiceway, eventually make its way out, and then across what used to be an impoundment behind the dam. This was an impoundment of water, which since the dam project, the dam removal project, it's now dry with a single channel coming through. And then the trail will connect through there and end up in the woods on the other side of the impoundment to the existing trails, which take you up to the high school, connects to 80 acres. Once we get the pedestrian bridge back, it'll connect you up to the West Chamberlain neighborhoods. So it's a really important project as far as connecting the east side of the turnpike to the west side of the turnpike. So focusing on the part that is of most interest to you folks is the wetland impacts on the project, which develops around this old impoundment area. So even though it's not a pond anymore, like it was not too long ago, it's still considered wetlands. So what we're proposing is to do a fill through here with good gravel material and have the sidewalk on top of that. We'll have one drainage culvert coming through here to carry the water that collects all the way from Woodbury Street and this whole area back here. So it's this wetland impact that we're talking about. Prior to submitting our wetland application, our consultant, which is Quantum Construction Consultants out of Concord, New Hampshire, and us met virtually with New Hampshire DES last week in a pre-submission meeting. And one of their comments was that even though, so that we, they wanted to make sure we knew that we would have to do mitigation for this wetland impact. Now, the total square footage of impact, permanent and temporary, is about 7,130 square feet. So that's what we're trying to mitigate. As you guys most assuredly know, there's two ways to mitigate. One is to do a project that would either protect upland areas or protect existing wetland areas, which is written in the NHDES rules under the Aquatic Resource Buffer Preservation, which is Part ENV WT 804. The alternative to that is to make a payment into the Aquatics Resource Mitigation Fund, or the ARM Fund. In this case, what I wanted to come to you folks to discuss was whether you had any projects that were in kind of this square footage area that are kind of shovel ready, that we could present to DES as an alternative to paying into the fund. And if not, I would recommend or request from the commission that you recommend to DES that the town make the payment to the ARM fund, which would be 80% reimbursable by the state through the TAP program. So I guess for that, I'll open it up to any questions you have, and be happy to listen to any projects you might be able to offer. Before I do, I'll just add one last thing. Those of you who have been on the commission for a while know we went through this process back a number of years ago with the Manchester Street Bridge, in which we did do a mitigation project through this program. We upgraded the Red Maple Swamp Trail up in Greater Woods, and it was a really successful project. The key to the success in that case was that the commission already had a plan developed. Dan Sear had developed a plan to upgrade the trail already, and the timing just worked out perfect, and we were able to move along. So I don't know if the commission has any of those kinds of projects in their back pocket that we could help you achieve through this program, or if we should just go ahead and make the contribution to the fund.
Thanks, Kyle. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any shovel-ready projects we would have right now that would fit the size and the scope of this. Do any of the other commissioners have ideas about that?
So before we go down that route, what's your timeline for this, Kyle? I mean, when do you want to have a feedback from us that you can act on?
Yeah, so I'm hoping, thanks, Tim, that's a great question. I'm really hoping fairly soon. The project, as I mentioned, we started in 2015. It's been, I'll just say it's been a tough project all the way through, through funding issues, and we seem to be sprung with new things, new requirements from both DES and DOT continually, which has really dragged this project out. We spent over a year working through the historical part of this project, and now we're finally near the end. We'd like to advertise for bid in May if we can get the wetland application and the NEPA document, which is the National Environmental Protection Act document that needs to be submitted to Federal Highway, approved in that time, with construction slated to start this summer. So I'm hoping the commission can give us guidance sooner than later, but certainly if you need time, we can offer it.
Yeah, I think our next meeting is what, a week from today, is it, Steve?
I think you're right.
That soon?
Yeah, it's the first Monday in February, I believe.
Yep, it is. February 1st.
Is it the first or is it a week after? I wasn't quite sure. I don't have the
I thought we
calendar.
were second. Aren't we second and fourth? Mondays, right?
Well, February's got a weird schedule because of holidays.
The President's Day, right?
Right.
Our next meeting is February 8th.
8th. Okay,
So
so
that's the second Monday.
all right, so
2 weeks away.
2 weeks away. Okay. All right, so
You thinking about the bypass? Is that what you're thinking
well,
about?
that's one. I have another one that's very close to the project that's being worked on and may be more favorable for from DES perspective. So Kyle, I didn't get a chance to go through all the wetland rules and look at them real close, but we own an acre of land abutting the school property that is along the extended part of this trail after this project space.
Right.
And we bought it from Mrs. Patterson, and we put absolutely no restrictions on that deed. Could we turn around and put a conservation-minded restriction over the top of that? No, rewrite it. We own it. We can certainly update the deed, put whatever conservation, thou shalt not build a building and all that other stuff on it, and call that our mitigation.
That's a really interesting thought. So right now it's just town property in general?
Yeah, the deed is very simple. It's like a one-pager, meets and bounds, and says the town owns it. It says the town owns it, but we purchased it with conservation dollars.
Okay.
I deliberately left it very vague. It was actually the first one I did as a chairman. Pete Flood actually helped put it together for us and kind of handed it to us. But the thought was we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know what this trail was going to look like. And I said, and we wanted to strike while the land was available to us. So we pushed it through quickly, and I'm pretty sure the deed doesn't say anything. It just says the town now owns it. So if I read 804 properly, it looks like we can offer another parcel of land. It does. I think this parcel has uplands, so it may be viable, but I don't know how to make that a determination.
Yeah, I can certainly look at that in closer detail in conjunction with my consultant. If I read it right, so 804.02 dimensions simply says subject to be below an upland buffer shall be a minimum of 100 feet wide, which it certainly is, and contiguous with the protected resource. So it's a different resource because it's not the actual impoundment, which is the meadow, but it's certainly contiguous with the river. Would be a higher class resource than the meadow, I think, but I'm certainly not an expert in this.
Yeah. So,
but I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think for very little effort, just updating a deed, attorney costs, we could achieve this.
Do you know off the top of your head, Tim, how much the land was purchased for?
We purchased it for 12 grand,
okay.
I believe. So, but that was knowing that it was just going to the town. So I don't know what its assessed. I don't recall what its assessed value was at purchase. So. Yeah. It does have a right-of-way out to McElwain Street, if you look into the deed a little bit. Believe it or not, we actually own a right-of-way across the school property. Who knows where it is exactly?
Even that acre is kind of hard to define.
Yeah, on the ground it is. You have to go out and survey it, but yeah.
Does that piece of property actually abut this project?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Physically, so just giving a little more background on the project. Originally, the project scope called for us to do what I've showed you tonight, but we also were planning to upgrade the existing kind of path trail through the woods with a more formal stone dust path. We quickly found out this was one of our roadblocks along the way. Between the federal highway ADA requirements, the additional cost to accommodate that and maintain slopes of 12:1 for a certain period of time, and then have some flat areas. The project became extremely expensive very quickly, and with all of the other ADA requirements and other things that we had to meet, we shortened the project up to what you see today. But originally, the project was supposed to go through that 1 acre parcel.
So just a note here. So if this parcel isn't big enough or a high enough dollar value, we've got other examples along the Souhegan River where we have parcels without conservation easements over the top of them. So, and then we have the Tomasian property that we're in the process of writing up the deed right now on. I've got Carrie working on it, and that transfer should happen hopefully by March, once we're through the town council process. And that we are putting in conservation language, but we can easily adjust it to meet the needs of DES. So it's meant for passive recreation only trails. And it's probably got, I don't know, 200-300 feet along the Souhegan River or more.
Is that the open space that was part of the Windy Hollow subdivision?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, behind my house.
Yep.
Then we've got Riverside Drive, which is, further east along the river. That's a nice big parcel that has no conservation easements over the top of it. So.
Which one is that, Tim? Riverside Drive?
Yeah, it's called Riverside Drive. I don't have the parcel ID, but it literally is behind Riverside Drive off of Amherst Road.
Okay.
So where do we go from here? Kyle, you're going to look into this and see if one of these can satisfy the requirements?
Yeah, I think this is some really good direction. And what I can do is I'll look up the deeds for these 3 parcels. And put a little memo together for Lori Summer. She's the program manager at DES for this program. See if it's something that she's interested in. And I can report back to you in 2 weeks. Or unless you'd rather give me direction that seek this out, and if not, then go for the harm fund donation. I could go either way you guys would prefer.
So we have another project that's almost shovel ready that Don was putting together for us out in Greater Woods. So we got some guidance from GZA that it may not have qualified for ARM funds. We were thinking of actually going after ARM funds for it, and that is the rerouting of South Greater Road around the pond. Remember, I don't know if you recall, but we actually closed the road off and put gates on it.
Right.
And then Don did a bunch of survey work for us a couple of summers ago or a couple of years ago and put the project together. The value of that project is somewhere, I don't know, between $50,000 and $75,000. So, and what we're looking to do is to maintain emergency access, but not have it run through the wetland. So take it up over the uplands, kind of like Red Maple Trail, but I'm not sure it has as much value as the Red Maple Swamp had. So. That's something that we have on our agenda tonight to discuss, getting it done one way or the other, I believe. At least that's what I'd like to advocate for, but we'll see what the commission goes on it.
Okay.
So. And then beyond that, we have a land purchase that we've been thinking about through our non-public that I'd have to discuss with you outside of this meeting. that's also a possibility that has significant wetland value.
Okay.
So,
I could characterize that as just that.
yeah.
Land purchase with significant value. And maybe just a contribution as part of that.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
raise it that way to Lori for now.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated, so we would need to discuss it. So, but it is something else that we're working on. So,
Okay. You guys never fail to disappoint. These are some really great ideas.
so beyond that, we did start an effort before COVID hit, where we were working with GZA as a consultant to identify potential parcels of high value that would be appropriate for ARM funds. So if we went after them, we could try and get ARM funds. So we have a write-up on that. We have some target properties, but we haven't moved forward with any of those. So there are other items we could pursue. We certainly have funds of our own that we can contribute to make those happen as well. So, just.
Yeah, and I don't think I mentioned it up front, Tim, and I should have. So I guess the way it works is, you may recall when we did the Manchester Street project, there was a straight online calculator. You punch in your square footages, you punch in which town you're in, and it spits out a number. Well, apparently that doesn't exist anymore. And DES now determines the value for any contribution. But using the old calculator, our consultant determined the total for permanent and temporary impacts would be about just under 20 grand. So that's kind of the ballpark that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Obviously, money is very tight on the project, because we have a certain amount. We can't go over it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the budgetary area that we're looking at for a project.
All right. Yeah, I haven't had much more time to really think this out, given I didn't see the agenda until Saturday morning, I believe. So.
So I guess we've got some more work to do. Kyle, we hate to ask you to come back, but we probably would need that in February just to hear what you've learned about these different options.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too, Steve. Let me do some research on this stuff, and I'll plan to submit an agenda request to Sharon for February 8th.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You guys given me some great direction and certainly things to look at.
And you may have already done it, but could you just shoot these graphics that you shared with us? You want to just shoot a copy of those to Sharon too, just so they can become part of the minutes?
Yeah, she has them.
She does. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Kyle.
Kyle?
All right, I think that brings us to, double check. I think that brings us up to item number 2 under new business is the 2021 annual seedling giveaway. I think the way we approached this last year was we have the historical list of those seedlings that didn't do well. I know despite the timing of this last year with regard to COVID, it was extremely popular. We had a fantastic turnout. We were able to modify the way we offered these seedlings in a way to do it outdoors in the parking lot and keep it safe and contact free. Ended up giving away. Do you remember, Gage, what was left at the end of the day? It was very little, and it all got planted on a bank somewhere at Wasserman, right?
Yeah, you summed that up pretty closely. We had don't have the exact numbers and names, but we had one plant that we ended up getting a double order of because they had to substitute, and it was a boysenberry or something like that. I don't remember, but it was very few, considering things that we were bagging and tagging all that stuff ourselves and getting them out to the cars. We got rid of almost everything.
And do you remember, Gage? I don't recall. How did we choose? Did we just use the list from the previous year, or did someone go through that?
Yeah, that's what I normally do. Is I take the list from the previous year and I see what's going to be available in the catalog, which is it's typically the same. You know, it's the same family of shrubs and trees. We just try to make a couple changes to keep things, you know, every year different. But I just use the history of what went and what didn't, and we make that list and try to keep the dollar value about the same. I'll gladly go over that list and how we pick them with anybody who'd like to do it. It's not very hard.
Anyone questions about the program? I think typically the dollar value is $450, although
we usually try to keep it under $500.
Under 500.
When we're normally 400 and change.
Anyone questions, comments?
No, I think I have copies of the flyers over the last number of years, but I'm sure Gage has all that as well. So that would list the plants that we've gotten in the past if we wanted to look at that level of detail.
I think it's important if we're going to do this year that we place our orders soon. Mother's Day weekend, right? Is when we've done this.
When we try to do the giveaway, yes.
May 8th, Saturday, May 8th, looks like would be the date.
But as Gage said, too, some of the more popular species, if we don't order them soon, may not be available to us.
Yeah. There's only a few times that we've lost out, but because we normally get the order in pretty quick.
So is February the 8th too late to decide?
I don't think so. I mean, we can.
You think you'd like to see the order before it goes in?
Well,
yeah.
I was just thinking, yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to see what's. So they must have a pamphlet on their website already as to what they're going to offer, right? So it might be nice to look at it compared to what we've done in the past couple of years and see if we want to mix it up and then.
I believe Sharon included that link in the email, I believe, in the login in the packets.
Yeah.
It's newhampshirenursery.com or something like that, and you can navigate, all one word, New Hampshire Nursery, and you can navigate down to their the seedling catalog.
Yeah, I know when I included all that stuff on the website that I think that's pretty much where I went in the past as well. In fact, I think last year's stuff is still on the website in a sidebar, if I remember. So.
Would we like to do this? Maybe if Gage emailed us out last year's order, we could all look at that and come prepared to offer any adjustments we want to make during the February 8th meeting and approve that expenditure at that time. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So on our website, Merrimack Outdoors, on the left-hand side is a link to what we did in 2020, including the nursery link. So you can look at that as well. So
I'll send you out I'm on a different computer right now, so I'll send out, get another machine, I'll send that out to you all so you have a copy of what we did last year. And it's the historical spreadsheet there that's got way too much data that you really don't care about on it.
Thank you, Gage.
Yeah.
So how did those bags work out last year, Gage?
They were a little short.
Short, okay.
Yeah, the size, the opening size is fine. It was just that they were a little short.
Okay, I ordered them online, so I couldn't really tell it was a quick order. So, okay, so too short. But opening was good. Thank you.
All right. We'll keep moving, I guess. Item number 3 is the annual duck box cleaning and inventory. Mike, do you want to talk to us about that? Is the ice thick enough?
Yes, the ice is thick enough. I was just out. Matter of fact, I was just out there today. And I found a duck box that was knocked over a year or two ago, and that can be fixed. This is Greater Woods. Gage, do you have all the Matt's shavings?
I can't find the shavings. I think those got dumped. But I do have two more duck boxes.
Okay. There's one on one of the small upper ponds in Greater Woods that the tree rotted and it fell through, but the water's low enough this year, whereas that I saw it today with a screwdriver, you can take the box off and we can put that box back up.
Okay.
And the duck boxes, at least in Greater Woods, on the lower ponds are higher than they usually are because I think the water is lower or the snow is not as, so it's like you got to reach up. So it's going to be a little hard to reach.
So we're schlepping up there with a ladder this time?
No, I don't think you need a ladder, but it's just going to be a little harder to see a couple of them. Some of them are fine. I know where all the duck boxes are in Greater Woods. I think I know where they are in Horse Hill. Gage, this is just an idea. Maybe 2 of us could go to one place and 2 to another or something. And that way, 2 are not a bunch of us together with COVID.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I can reach out to Matt and see if he's got somewhere we have a map. Gina probably has it. We have a map or something that's got the locations of where we knew where the duck boxes were.
Yeah, I mean, I think, they're not too hard to find in Greater Woods. I'll tell you, this weekend would be the time to do it because the ice is just firmed up and it's going to be cold all week.
Yep.
But no, we don't have any shavings, huh? No shavings.
No, but there's they're pretty cheap, so I can grab a bag somewhere.
Okay.
Because we don't need very much. I mean, you need a handful.
Yeah, and maybe I could get some from you. And I don't know if somebody, do you want to do Horse Hill and I could do Greater Woods, and if somebody wants to join us, they can join us.
Yep, that's fine. We have to get a map for Horse Hill about where the duck boxes are. I'm not as familiar where we ended up with those are.
Yeah.
Matt was taking us through shortcuts through the woods, and I was I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you would probably have a better shot at finding all of those than I would.
And again, I have 2 more. So if you find a place you want to put another one up, let me know. We can add it to the list.
Yeah, the dead trees tend to be falling into the ponds. There's not as many dead trees sticking out.
Eric, you're our resident map expert. Do you have a layer going for anything that we can start, making locations for these so we have an accurate map where we end up with them?
Yeah, that'd be pretty simple to do. Yeah.
Okay. What do you want us to do? Just get a geolocation, or what would be the easiest thing for you to take?
I think geolocation would be simple enough. Maybe if you could get something like a printed out satellite image of the map and have locations marked too, maybe that'd be good too.
Okay.
Well, somebody's going to have to come with me and know how to do that.
We'll turn your location on your phone. You can just take a picture of it. How's that?
There we go.
Yeah, it'd be embedded in the metadata for the picture if you know how to find that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The metadata.
I'll do that. I'll take a picture. I don't know. So yeah, this weekend would be good. I think, I mean, because last year we didn't even get to do it because all of a sudden warm weather moved in and the ponds were too soft.
It was 2 years ago we did it?
Yeah. We didn't get to do it last year. It's too warm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago that I fell through the ice.
I'm laughing with you.
I'd be happy to help do it this weekend.
All right.
Gage, you want me to meet you?
Yep, that works.
Saturday, boots, gloves, mask, anything else I need?
One of you got to bring a drill with a Phillips bit. Yeah.
Oh,
So
right. Was Matt using Phillips bit or Star bits? Do you remember?
I think it's Phillips, but I'm not sure. Bring both, I guess. So I could get some of that. The wood shavings from you, Gage?
Yeah, I'll see if I think did he buy cedar shavings or was it pine?
I think they were just I don't think they were cedar. I think they were just pine shavings.
Yeah, well, I can find some.
Yeah.
It's cheap. Tractor gave it to us last time. They just gave us a big bag.
Do you know that this is a little off subject, but do you know that cedar actually gives off a allergen? Cedar, cypress, and a couple other those tough to decay woods. Some people have allergy problems if there's a lot of cedar in their homes, like cedar log cabins and stuff like that. Anyway, a little bit of information. Does anybody? So somebody's going with Gage, right? You are, Steve? Does anybody want to go to Greater Woods Ponds?
I'm willing to go.
Okay.
Eric,
This
you
weekend?
hauling out of the water?
It's this weekend.
Yeah. Like 9 o'clock in the morning or something, or whatever works for you on Saturday or Sunday, whatever. You can let me know what day is better. I think Saturday?
Saturday would work better for me, yeah.
Yeah. Saturday at 9. BB Lane.
Yeah, sure.
BB Lane kiosk.
Yeah, I can meet you there, yeah.
Okay.
Steve, I'll catch up with you. Figure it out.
Okay.
Is Saturday good for you though? That work?
Saturday works, yes.
Okay.
All right. I think we've got a solid plan to handle the duck boxes. Next item is the Parks and Rec 2021 Winter Carnival. I think this is something we've talked about a little bit previous meetings. It's during February, school vacation generally. I think last time we discussed this, the consensus was that just given the current precautions and so forth and the pandemic, that we would opt out of participating this year. Does anyone feel differently about that or want to give that discussion?
I was just going to say, like Gina put in the email, we've done it the past few years and it's hands-on. So I agreed that we should just skip it this year, just to be safe.
Anyone else? Okay, so be it then. We will we'll opt out this year and hope that we can resume doing a hands-on style presentation in 2022. The B&M Rail Trail concept is the 5th item under new business.
Yeah. So let me pose something to all of you. So since I'm planning to move on, there's a few things floating around the back of my head that I wanted to get out there. This is not a project I'm looking to take on myself, but I'm looking to educate folks as to a possibility, and the commission may decide it's something they want to act on. Someone in the public may be watching this meeting and said, hey, that's a cool idea, something I'd like to work on. It's certainly a decent sized project and has a lot of idiosyncrasies to it. So it would certainly, give someone something good to sink their teeth into and have an opportunity to meet different people. So some of you may not know, but we own a portion of land that used to be part of the B&M Railroad, and some 90 to 100 years ago, a railroad used to follow it. Later, when the railroad stopped using it, snowmobilers used it to crisscross New Hampshire way back when we had snowmobile trails and very few homes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and bring up Merrimack GIS and be a little bit more specific as to what I'm talking about. So I believe this will do it. And you should see Merrimack GIS.
Yes.
With a yellow parcel. So what I'm talking about is everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with where the landfill and now transfer station is, correct?
Yes.
That is where I'm circling my mouse right now. So this is Lawrence Road right here. This is West Road, which is a dirt road and has the ATV park on it. But this is the landfill. You can see here, I'll make it a little bit bigger if I can. You can start to get a glimpse of where the buildings are. The transfer station is here, and then the place where you put your regular trash is right here. See where I'm wiggling my mouse? Well, this is the whole landfill parcel that the town owns. This is actually a separate parcel, which used to be the old rail bed. It goes between Woodward Road and Lawrence Road. And way back 100 years ago, there used to be a rail bed there. And then down off of Stowell Road, which is off to the left of my screen, there was actually a railroad station where passengers could board and leave the railroad way back, back in the late 1800s. Early 1900s. So quite a bit of time ago. So this portion here, where it says unnamed, this is a paved area because it services the transfer station. You go back a little bit further, you've got the old, the big hill we used to all climb and join the seagulls and drop our trash. And you keep going further west, and you get further and further out in the sticks. Now, I believe there's even an earlier dump site. If I remember as a child going all the way out, we used to actually dump our trash here, and then we moved to the big hill that's here. But once you get past about here where my mouse is, it gets to be very much in the sticks. And it'd be hard to tell there was a rail bed there, but there is aspects of it. And somewhere around here, the asphalt stops and there's no more. And then so it becomes this path that follows this corridor that the town owns all the way out to Woodward Road. Now, a few years ago, the town council provided this landowner here use of this area for their own driveway. But I believe the agreement stipulates that people are allowed to walk on this area that they improved because it is it is town-owned land all the way through. So right here where it says Babusick Brook is true. Babusick Brook runs right through this. There is remnants of an old trestle where the train used to cross the Babusick Brook, and you've got abutments on each side, but there's no more bridge there. So that would be something that would have to be done. But what I'm really trying to propose is that we could have a rail trail if we were to purchase this yellow parcel from the B&M Railroad, which is really Pan Am Railroad, because Pan Am bought the assets of B&M a few years back, and Pan Am is actually in the process of being bought out by probably CSX, which is a very large transportation company. Pan Am also owns the rail that goes from the downtown Nashua all the way out to Milford, and which is being proposed as a potential Souhegan rail trail to go from downtown Nashua all the way out to Wilton eventually. So, but this parcel here is owned by the railroad. It's pretty much woods now. You could tell that there was a rail bed there, but it's not utilized except for, I'm sure, as the backyard of the people that live along this path. But we theoretically could pick up Parkhurst Road if we own this parcel, and then came all the way through, crossed the brook, go all the way out to Lawrence Road, across Lawrence Road in this direction. This little parcel we also own, that's the town of Merrimack's. And then that takes you into the town of Bedford. And what I'm going to do is, here's that same spot. This is Lawrence Road would be here. This group of buildings is the transfer station. So then you have this long parcel, which is still owned by the railway, all the way out to Jenkins Road. The town of Bedford has been looking to purchase that parcel from the railroad, and they've had some discussions going on it. But the town of Bedford also owns a lot of these other land parcels along here, and Watkins Forest, which is partially in Merrimack, is also down in this area as well. But if you took it all the way out to Jenkins Road, you'd have a little over 2 miles stretch from Parkhurst out to Jenkins, and it'd be a good 4 to 5 mile loop if you wanted to be a pedestrian on there, if you wanted to get glimpses of what's going on. There's some really great water features out here. There'd probably be some footpaths and footbridges that had to be created because it is fairly wet out here, but great scenery. The Conservation Commission in Bedford owns some of this land, the town owns some of the land, but it could make for quite a scenic avenue across those two areas. Theoretically, the town of Bedford owns some more land past Jenkins, but I believe most of the land is owned by condominium associations. So it theoretically could go a little bit further out if you wanted to. So not a huge rail trail, pretty much end to end is all it's going to ever be. But with a little coordination and some drive for some dollars, you could put this together. There may be TAP dollars available, which is what Kyle had brought to us, the project that's going along the Souhegan River there. That's being utilized, some dollars that come to us through the state, which actually I think has some federal dollars in front of it. And I can, from the NRPC, in my position there, I can certainly provide some assistance as to how to maybe go after some of those dollars. So again, I just kind of want to introduce the fact that we've got this little corridor in the northwest part of Merrimack that abuts Bedford that has a lot of open space involved with it, and we could create, 10 years down the road, you could create quite a thing, or even less, if someone wanted to pick up this project and see if you could partner with the Bedford Concom or other interested parties. Maybe the New England Mountain Bikers Association might want to get involved with this. Certainly we could talk to the people that are doing the Souhegan Trail that are interested in doing this kind of stuff to see what their contacts are. So again, I just wanted to introduce the concept, throw it out there as something that's possible. We own a lot of pieces that make this thing doable, and the town of Bedford owns some of the pieces, and that's it. I'll stop talking.
Tim, can you go back to the Merrimack GIS for a second?
Sure.
Because on the section that goes through the dump, isn't that gated on either ends?
Gated, yeah. There are gates there. We certainly have to negotiate with the town as to how they want to manage it. I know that there'd be some concerns of people wandering up to the old landfill, and would have to be careful of that. But right. Signage and stuff like that can be helpful. So this is private property, this whole parcel here. So we would want to be respectful of this private landowner here. Maybe want to engage with this landowner in order to well, certainly you'd want to as the project got going. So, but this is a pretty cool little fishing spot too, if people are into doing that sort of stuff. This is a privately owned parcel right here, but it would be rather expensive for them to get to it because they'd have to cross the brook and put in a roadway and all that. So this may be a parcel we might even want to go after, right? I don't know what the value of it is. Let's see what they bought it for. They didn't spend a lot of money on it, so. But that could, open up some recreation or open space things. This is all privately owned here. The family that owns this also owns some other large parcels. I know that it recently had a forestry project done on it. So don't know what the future of this is all about. So. So just a thought. I'm not asking you to take any action. I just want to put it out there, and you know, there's a few more little items I know around town that I've encountered over the years, and I just want to share them with you. And maybe they go nowhere or whatever, but I certainly don't have the energy to bring this home. But I'd be happy to help advise. So.
Have you been in contact with anyone at B&M or Pan Am?
I have not. So I have spoke to someone in the planning office in Bedford. So Karen Elmer. Karen is also serves with me on the National Regional Planning Commission. So she lives here in Merrimack, but she's a planner in Bedford, and she's been involved with the discussions with the railroad. So I can't really get into the details of those. I don't quite have them all. I know that it's a negotiation for land, so it's not something we want to talk about here.
No. I'm just saying, yeah. If there's multiple parcels, then maybe that would be, like you said, this might be the right time to.
Correct. Right. Yes.
Multiple parcels.
Yeah. Yeah. So while that is all in, probably going to be transferred to CSX, it'd be good to reach out to CSX fairly quickly, so that it could put it on their radar screen. And I know through my contacts with the NRPC that there's already been an outreach along the Nashua corridor all the way out to Milford with a similar idea and concept. So.
Well, thank you, Tim, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. All right, I guess we'll keep moving then. Item number 6 under new business was the dog leash discussions, and not really a lot to talk about here. I just, for those who didn't know it or didn't view the last town council meeting, there was some concerns brought forward from residents regarding specifically the complaint brought before the town council was about dogs off leash in Greater Woods. But the town council did discuss it. They thanked the person for coming forward and kind of explained why it's difficult to please everyone, and the town elected not to enact any kind of additional dog leash ordinances. Anyone who saw it want to mention anything I might have missed?
I'd like to add a little content to it, if I may.
Yes, please.
So you're right. Everything you said is right on point. And issues with dogs on our properties have come up a few times. I know Roland Roberge spoke as well. I'm talking about his experiences with Horse Hill, especially since where he lives and the people going in and out of there over the years. He has some good background there. But in general, Merrimack does have a dog ordinance on the books, and the dog ordinance requires that the owner keep the animal under control. And you can read the details on it. There's not a lot of words there in the dog ordinance, but if you go to the town code and you can look it up. Now, we also have 2 other places in our town code where dog control and leash is brought up. So in chapter 142, which covers the recreational parks, we actually have a leash law in the parks. It requires your dog not to just be under control, but on the leash or in a cage. So that covers the rec properties like the park area in Wasserman and a few of the other parcels, Veterans Park and a few other places. So we do have it. It's not unheard of. Being in a park situation, those parcels tend to have more people there all the time, and some of them are actually actively patrolled and town employees are there, but not every parcel that's covered by it. And then the third place where we actually have a leash law is chapter 111 of the town code, which is the conservation chapter. So that covers the 5 or 6 parcels that are currently in the chapter, which includes Wildcat Falls, Riverside Park, Mitchell Woods, and Hitchin Post Lane, and French Court, I believe. So And the leash law or cage is the same language that's in the Parks and Rec. So it's not unprecedented to have that. When we did our Chapter 111 update, the suggestion I made and the suggestion we were going forward with was to remove the leash requirement because of concerns that it's difficult to enforce. And you can have it in name and it's something you could utilize if you had a problem situation. But if you had a problem situation, there are other avenues that the police could take. So then the other item that came up in the meeting and is true is that if someone does encounter an issue with an animal out on the property, when they're out in the conservation properties, especially the ones outside of Chapter 111, at least outside as of today, they should report it. Let's get it on record. And then if it turns out that there's enough reports of issues, then maybe the town council would take a different stance. So just a little more feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. What was the reason for this person asking for a leash requirement?
So she has she lives not far from me. She has a couple of Afghan hounds, and when she takes them out, I think a lot of the times other dogs that are not leashed or under owner control come over and bother her dogs. So she has to try to control her dogs, and that something like that is actually probably fairly common out there. Dogs will come running out to you, and 90% of the time they're friendly. But I can see a dog owner who's trying to control their own dogs. When a dog runs up to them, it's a problem for that other dog, for that dog owner trying to restrain their dogs. And I think that was her problem.
Yeah, I agree with Tim that we should get more data. We shouldn't just act on something over one complaint.
And I didn't mean to misrepresent this. The town council wasn't asking us to act on this. They spoke about it at their meeting, so I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it.
This is unenforceable, really. I mean, if the council did anything, and that's why they decided to keep it the way it is. I think, it's not a big problem, but it is a problem.
Yeah, maybe with the advent of a conservation officer, if that survives the budget process, there may be more opportunities to help educate people as to what under control really means. So.
Great point. All right, moving on. Under old business, I think we just have the one item, and that's something we've tabled a couple times, most recently from 11/16 of last year, and that's the Greater Woods Bypass Trail.
Yeah, so I asked for this agenda item once again, just to see if there was an appetite with the commission to move forward with the project, even if we fully funded it. Last time we discussed it, I had suggested that it could be combined with a forestry project to offset some of the costs. I know there was some concern by some folks, do we really need a forestry project? Is it really the right thing to do? And that's a discussion that we can certainly have. But what I'm getting at is if this is a project we want to move forward with, we probably want to start, getting ready to find someone who can manage the project, start putting an RFP together, and try to get it out there so we can make it part of a project list for this season, this construction season, for lack of a better term. So, because if not, we're going to miss the window if we wait till May to get this thing moving forward.
So, go ahead, Tim, you want to finish?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we obviously have to be careful of nesting season and all that stuff. So it's not something we would want to start right away, but certainly we would want it on. We want to go through the process and have a contractor lined up so it could start at the right time of year, but still within this overall season that's coming in front to us. So.
So I have kind of a question and a comment. So this road improvement and bypass. We're looking to improve the road from the gate going out to Greater Road up into the bypass area where it goes around the pond, and then bypass around the pond to the Class 6 road on the other side.
Correct. To just beyond the gate on the other side. Yeah.
Okay, so and this is going to be more like a red maple, like a woods road, and not like Gateway. Because I definitely would not support something like Gateway, where I would if it was more like a red maple trail.
Yeah, it's to provide emergency access. Essentially, we want to be able to know that we can get the forestry truck out there, not the ladder truck, or maybe not the tanker, but certainly the town owns a forestry truck, which is I think it's actually a Jeep vehicle with beefed up tires and suspension and all that. So and maybe reasonable enough that it could support a future forestry or other sort of project if we needed to do something out there. But right now we're really limited to get emergency access and fire apparatus out there.
Right. So what? I guess the Class 6 road that comes in from Wilson Hill Road up to the point where it meets our gate.
Yeah.
Is that drivable with that kind of vehicle?
Well, it was improved to do the logging situation in the donut property.
So a vehicle can get into that point from that side.
Yep.
So this is another possibility. So if we did improvements to the road from Greater Road to the bypass area, then we would have a road coming in from each side, just not connected by the bypass going around the pond, and therefore we wouldn't have that impact of going around the pond and having to go to the uplands, putting a road in, going around for, I don't know, a quarter mile just to connect the two ends. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there as another possibility.
Right. Yeah, but right now, if there was a fire in those uplands, you wouldn't be able to get a vehicle up there. You would have to walk in that last few hundred yards.
Yeah, but I mean, there could be a fire. Who knows where? You wouldn't be able to get to it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just something I want to throw out there, and also the access from Amherst. The gentleman that lives in that house at the end of Greater Road is retired now, so I run into him quite a few times. He's the one that's responsible for maintaining that road up until it's paved, which is below the parking lot in Amherst. So he's the one that takes care of that. So I was mentioning to him that we were thinking about doing this, and so obviously he is very concerned if we bring a logging truck or something in that way, and plus we need to get permission from Amherst, correct, to go in that way. So that might influence our decision on which end we want to come in from, and also might influence our decision of whether we want to log, which I do not support.
Any other thoughts from any of the other members about this project?
No, to me, it seems like we're kind of going back because we purposely started those gate projects with the intent of putting a bypass road in there because we locked off access to one of the motorized trails. So we seem to be kind of going back around the background decision that was already made. I mean, which is fine, and we can do that, but our intent was to make that access to the backside of it, coming up from South Greater Road, to have emergency vehicles be able to get to the backside of that property. Yeah, that's just an idea I was throwing out there, and also it depends on what happens with Tim's with
with the law changes or whatever, with I forget what you call those, that
Chapter 111.
chapter 111.
Yeah. Well, regardless though, that we still don't have the ability to get an emergency vehicle in there. And not that we've had to do it often. I can only think of 2 times that we've ever opened the gate at the middle school to get an emergency vehicle up that road. But
right. Yeah.
It's certainly been helpful for us when we're just going doing maintenance. I mean, I've taken my truck up there a number of times, full of tools and whatever for projects. So that road is supposed to be, 13 foot wide and supportive of a, I forget what the tonnage was of the vehicle, but
yeah, I have
the usual plan.
I have no problem with a red maple type of road install there. I do have a problem with a logging project, which would definitely change the character of that area a lot.
I think we introduced the idea of tying this in with a logging project just because it really helped the financials of it, right? The thought wasn't.
Well, that in our forester a number of years ago recommended a project in that area in order to to improve the habitat in that area. So it's
that was Dan was very proactive about logging to get rid of some of the less developed trees, so we'd have a good strong crop for the 20 years later when you log again, and to make make the wood valuable, so you can have a offsetting logging schedule and not really impact the attractiveness of your forest. So I wouldn't mind going back on the original plan and saying I'd still like to go back in there and get some logging done, because there's a lot of small brush type of trees in there that aren't growing well because they're just so crowded up.
Yeah, I mean, I see so I've lived here, I don't know, it's my 40th year. And so I saw the growth. I guess Greater Woods was logged 20, 25 years before I moved here, maybe. You could just tell it was logged. The logging roads were, but anyway. And I could see the growth of that forest over the next 20 years. And aesthetically, and I know this is not anything to do with forest production and all that, but I could see that forest grow into something that was much more enjoyable, I guess the words to say. And then the forestry project came from 15 years ago, and that drastically changed the character, especially the landing area. The large trees that were removed. It changed the character of Greater Woods a lot in that area. And also, there's logging that's been going on for the Blood Road development. Plus, they went in by the donut hole and did logging in there. There's tons of logging all around Greater Woods.
Well, that's clear cut. They're clear cutting that for a development. That's not.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't even call that logging. They're cutting everything they can.
You're right. So there's a lot of timber has been removed, and also up by beyond Blood Road. I don't know what they're planning to do there. When they went in from the Class 6 road, South Greater Road, they went in there and took trees. I just think we should leave some areas alone for a while and let the people enjoy them.
Yeah, and honestly, if there's no appetite to do it, it doesn't matter to me. My real concern is safety, and being able to manage that portion of our property. We own an awful lot of land near there, as well as the town of Amherst. And if a forest fire was to break out there, it could really get well established before we'd be able to get it knocked down. We saw 12 years ago, whatever, what a fire did in Wildcat Falls. Literally in a few minutes, we had a number of acres that burned near the power lines. Fortunately, we could get vehicles out there and manage it. So that's not the case here. It would take a lot of effort to get vehicles and supplies out there if we don't do something to complete the path all the way through. So.
Well, I think it might be at least worthwhile to call the forester and have them just go up there and walk it and see if it's really, if it's a project that's worth doing. They may come back and say, yeah, you know what, you're going to end up paying for this. It's not going to be offsetting.
Yeah.
So that would be, to me, where we should at least start, because we're potentially talking about something that is not even going to happen, or not worthwhile to happen.
So you're talking about the forestry project, Gage. Tim, you're talking about the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, but yes, we're talking, but I think we're talking about the same thing. Is we were not planning on trying to do the road, fund the road ourselves. We were trying to fund it partially with some type of logging work. Obviously, if we're going to be cutting a road up there, there's trees that are going to come down to put a road in.
Right.
So
like I read maple.
Right. Exactly. So if we're gonna do some type of logging work to try to offset that cost, then it would be worthwhile to at least see if that's even a viable option. Or we just, we thought that trail was going to be a great arm project, and and it was not. So here we are thinking that we may be able to make some money or offset the cost of this road development with some logging, and we may be completely wrong. So have to get someone in there who's got some experience with logging and see if that's even a viable alternative.
Really, there isn't any harm to having someone go in there and give us that sort of feedback. No. I don't think.
No, they will give us a feedback as a forester with trying to make a healthy forest and getting production out of it. And that's just not the way I want to look at Greater Woods. I want to, that's all. I'd like to see it get a little more old growth and let the black birches, let people see what a mature black birch looks like and how the bark changes and how the trees, there's going to be a lot of flack from the public too if we go logging in there.
So am I calling it forester?
Well, I guess we'll put it to the test. So I move that we hire a forester to do an evaluation of the west side of Greater Woods along the South Greater Road and provide us a recommendation whether or not a forest project is desirable for ecological reasons. How's that?
Second. Okay.
Yeah, not to exceed, I don't know, $400 from Fund 53.
I'll second. By roll call vote.
Well,
yes.
We ask questions about it first?
Oh, sure. Yes.
So that is a straightforward forestry type project. Are we going to have them also look at the potential of putting a road in through there? Should we keep that also in as part of that assessment?
When you say put a road in there
to build the bypass.
Right. Yep. Yes, we should do that. Yep. For $400.
Yep. Okay.
Or less.
So what am I voting on here? Am I voting on what's the forester's?
He's going to give us a professional opinion as to whether or not it makes ecological sense to do the forestry project and look at the area as well that we plan on putting the road through, so we can get an idea of the timber value or any other value that might be where we have to cut in order to do the road.
You're right.
Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Yes. Mike?
I'm going to vote no. I'm going to vote no.
Okay. Cindy?
I'll vote Yes, but I'll probably be voting against any logging.
Understood. Gage,
I'll vote yes.
Eric,
I'm gonna vote no.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike Druin,
No.
okay. Motion carries 4-3-0. Okay, moving on. Yes.
So, Gage, is that something you can engage to have happen, or is that something else that someone else needs to drive?
I'm gonna call. I'll start with Bay State. I don't think we have to go with anyone else. They're already waiting for a call back on their spraying, but it's the knotweed. So
Okay. Yeah, because they have the forestry plans as well that they can leverage,
yes.
right? So, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Brings us to other business. There were no subcommittee. Does anyone have any information from the subcommittees they want to share with us? No.
I don't have anything.
Okay, I guess really nothing under other business then. Presentation of the minutes. Who's had a chance to thoroughly review the minutes?
Cindy.
I only got through half of them. So.
Yeah, I scanned them, but I didn't do it for strong editorial reasons.
Right, I read them, but I'm not good at finding all of the mistakes.
No one does it like Gina does, so
I know.
I was not in that last meeting, so I don't really want to make a motion on it.
So I move we table the minutes to our next meeting.
Second.
Roll call vote to table the minutes to the next meeting. I'm a yes. Mike,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Gage,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
That motion carries 7-0. Public comments. I do not see any members of the public who wish to comment. So commissioner comments. Mike?
Yeah, it's, there's a lot of flagging off of the Skyline Trail in Greater Woods. Does anybody know what that's for? Or?
What do the flags look like?
You know, they're like the typical blue and orange ribbon, you know, like surveying type flagging.
Is it up near the development?
It's literally on our side of the Skyline Trail, so it's not on the development side. It's like on the other, on the Greater Woods side. And there's a little bit coming down towards Gateway in the school. I'm going to go back out there tomorrow, and I have also gotten a couple people asking me what that was too. So I'm not the only one that noticed it.
All right.
So understand, part of Gateway, part of the Skyline Trail goes off our property.
Right, I know it's right close there.
It goes off our property.
Yeah, so
Right.
I think that's what some of that flagging might be from that development coming across the trail to the other side, possibly. I mean, I'm guessing.
It could be, I don't know.
I don't know what it's for, but
Anything else, Mike?
yeah, so I think I'm going to, last meeting, we talked about contacting Kyle about reground and possibly putting some into Scalar. So I think I'm going to go through with that in the next week or two. I'm going to ask him his opinion about making a parking area there or improving the access to turn in there. Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah. And Steve, did you contact the Flying Eagles?
I did not. That was on my to-do list. I did not get to that.
Okay. Just want to remind you.
Yeah, thank you. I needed that.
Yeah. You can copy me on that too if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to them tomorrow. Let's see. Okay. Anything else, Mike?
That's it. Thanks.
Cindy?
I put our meeting schedule on the Merrimack Outdoors calendar, and for now, I just put everything in as virtual. You know, if at some point we go back in, I can change it, but right now, all of our meetings are listed as virtual, and there's nothing in there for subcommittees yet. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Gage?
I don't have anything.
All right. Eric?
Yeah, just to follow up on the dogs on leashes discussion, just to remind people that when we did our walk of Greater Woods, over a year ago to alleviate hunting concerns, we did run into 2 hunters there who were, based on the weapons, probably hunting coyotes. So just make sure that even if you don't have your dog on a leash, make sure they have at least like a noisy collar, like a bell or something on their collar.
Or wearing orange.
Yeah, and I wanted to, during all that discussion, I did some quick research just on coyote sightings in Merrimack. And that apparently led me to something I never heard of before. Like, I've heard of it, but I never heard this particular story from 2016. Apparently there was a chupacabra sighting in Merrimack, which I never heard of. I thought I would have heard it when it happened, but I didn't. And I'm just curious, did the Merrimack Conservation Commission at the time in 2016 address the chupacabra sighting?
What's the what sighting?
Chupacabra.
What the heck? What is that?
Well, originally the chupacabra back in the 90s when it was first sighted in Puerto Rico was this little frog monster. But for some reason in the past decade, it's become a dog with mange. And this was probably a coyote puppy with mange. There was a picture of it. I just found it. I don't know if you guys remember the story. It was like, it made national news apparently. So I'm just curious if the Conservation Commission at the time, to the people who were on the Conservation Commission in 2016, did anything to make sure Merrimack was safe.
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, so this is news to me.
Chupacabra.
I have no more comments then.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
Tim?
Yeah, 2 things. So I've been doing a little poking as well around our 2 conservation funds. And Paul McNally, with his staff, was able to uncover the town meeting process or proceedings that created them. And I thought that might be a good 10-minute item at our next meeting so that everyone's aware as to how those funds were created and what was the intention of the voter, as far as if you can glean that from the warrant articles.
That sounds like a great idea. I'll make sure it gets added to the next agenda.
Yeah, that way we use Fund 53 and Fund 51 as the warrant articles had it. I don't think there's any great surprises. So, but I will put the information together. I can forward it to Sharon so everyone could read the warrant articles as they were given to me, and then we could, you know, have a quick discussion on them. So, but started this was because I believe back in the summertime there was a discussion at a town council meeting whether or not with Wildcat Falls if we could use Fund 53 or Fund 51 to support some of the activities that we did at Wildcat Falls. I don't know if it was to pay for the officer for the weekend or whatever it was, but during that meeting, there was a discussion about which funds. Paul made a statement as to what fund he thought was, and I asked him to do some homework, and this is the result of that. So the other thing is it looks like we're going to be virtual for a while, and it also looks like that the subcommittees are not going to be able to meet. So I'd like to suggest that we reach out to each one of the subcommittees and put one of them on our agenda every meeting until we go back to in-person meetings, which means that about every month and a half, our subcommittee should have an opportunity to have a meeting, and they can have it with us. They can discuss their own things. They could discuss things that are unique for the subcommittee. You know, create a half an hour block and give it for a subcommittee, a joint subcommittee conservation commission meeting. And we could do things because spring is coming and the world is going to be a better place this year. I'm counting on it. So let's put some plans together so we can get back to doing the things that we all love to do on these properties, and let's get our subcommittees re-engaged so we don't lose all our membership. So Steve, maybe you can reach out to the chair of each of the subcommittees and say, is February the 8th a good meeting for you, or is March the whatever, or whatever. So
it's a great idea, Tim. Yeah, let me move forward with that.
Okay.
And what was the timing you suggested? One subcommittee would meet on each one of our meetings.
Yeah, and just rotate till we go back to in-person, or they can go to in-person, I should say.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I was thinking something about the same thing. I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, we need to get them involved.
Okay. Great idea. Thank you for that. Mike Druin?
Yeah, I agree with Tim. That'd be a great idea, especially to get Sklar's first meeting in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I don't have any additional comments.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
Cindy seconds. Motion to adjourn by Tim, seconded by Cindy by roll call vote. I vote yes. Mike?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And Mike?
No.
You can't do that. Mike, you were on mute. Go ahead. Thanks. Okay, motion carries 7-0-0. Well, thank you all for joining tonight, and have a wonderful night.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning. I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.